fermentation director walks up to me and hands me a vial of white powder. And he says, Esther, you made this. What I have in my hand here is malonic acid. And I'm not gonna lie, the first thing that I did was open it and taste it. As one does. I felt like a god because what I'm holding in my hand here wasn't made in a factory. It wasn't made with oil. It wasn't made with toxic chemicals. It's made with pure biology. Now, you might be wondering, what is malonic acid? You might think that, oh, it's some sort of exotic chemical that I've never even heard of before. Well, actually, it's literally in your car paint, your deodorant, your fragrances, your perfumes, lubricants, in computer chips. It's literally everywhere. And the fact that I made this without any chemicals is a miracle in itself. So my name is Esther. I am a scientist, a builder, an entrepreneur, and this is my journey here. The crazy thing is, even the thing that I made today, you cannot, and 10 years later, you cannot actually purchase it on the market just yet. So let me rewind here. In high school, I was obsessed with biology. I love biology at its core. And maybe a few of you might be in this crowd, very, very young individuals, and say, I love biology too. But I faced this really big problem, which was, I love biology, but what am I gonna do with it in the future? I have no idea what I want to build. And so through high school, I kind of felt very lost, but I just know that I love biology. In college, that's where it all changed. I was sitting in my genetics class, and for a 15-minute lecture, it actually changed my entire life. My professor talked about CRISPR-Cas9, and it's basically a tool where you can genetically modify and rewrite the code of DNA. I was like, what? That's fake. There's no way. There is absolutely no way. So what I did was, right after the lecture ended, I ran down the hallway and I tapped my professor on the shoulder. Professor, what is this? I need to know how this works. I need to know how to become a genetic engineer immediately. Like, tell me more. And he said, well, I don't really know. But there is a woman down the street at UC Berkeley working on this kind of thing. So I went to go see Jennifer Doudna. I had a really nice chat with her, all before she was a Nobel laureate. But in that moment, I told myself, I'm going to be a genetic engineer one day. And I immediately graduated in 2015. I got my first dream job as a genetic engineer, and I've never looked back since. Now, my story doesn't end there, because when I went into the startup company, I started making things that yeast would naturally never make. So let me break it down for you. It sounds very science fiction, engineering cells to do whatever you want it to do. Well, yeast do not naturally produce malonic acid. And the way that I did it was I took out the DNA, engineered and rewrote the code, reprogrammed it, put it back in the cell, and I fed it sugar, water, air, and put it in a bioreactor. And in the bioreactor, it brewed beautiful chemicals. And once the chemicals are brewed, it's a very similar process to brewing beer. And so when it is brewed, what you get is pure malonic acid. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. You can literally make food, materials, chemicals, clothing, medicine. You can make literally anything from these types of microbes. So why hasn't the world adapted a very clean way to make chemicals and materials and food? So I scratched my head there because I wasn't sure why this didn't exist more mainstream in the world. Why do we have industrial waste and toxic chemicals? So fast forward to why we should be caring about this. Well, the playbook doesn't exist. A lot, as an entrepreneur, as a scientist, I coached many startup companies. I also coached many entrepreneurs on how to develop their technology inside of the lab and actually launch it in real life. And the biggest problem is the science is very robust. It actually works really well. The scale works really well. However, the problem is industry does not know how to take a bio-based chemical and actually put it into the products that they're creating because there is no playbook for it. So today, I'm here to tell you a little bit about that playbook. And I will tell you in 3 parts. And specifically, I will tell you about a couple entrepreneurs that came to me, very, very young entrepreneurs, not too much older than you are. And this is how they have scaled their technology and launched it into the real world. So 2 entrepreneurs, both were 23 years old, and they approached me, "Hey Esther, we figured out how to make a photobioreactor. It's basically a bioreactor for algae." And I was like, "Great, this is awesome, this is wonderful. What can you make from this?" And they scratched their head and they're like, "Well, Esther, you can make anything at all." That's mistake number 1. So instead of making a machine that makes everything but sells nothing, you must figure out a good problem to solve. So I said, "You know what? Come back to me when you figured out what you want to make with this. And you could use the bioreactor for your advantage." 2 weeks went by and they came back to me. They said, "Esther, we want to create engineered enzymes to extract lithium from rocks." So let me tell you why this is actually a brilliant idea. 82% of the world's lithium actually gets refined in China for your lithium batteries. The lithium is actually mined from South America, and every country in the world is trying to be a very resilient country that produces their own materials and chemicals. Now, the US has a very, very big hope that they could bring more lithium into the States. But I said, "This is brilliant. Okay, great. So they've solved it, right? Now go build it." Wrong. Well, the next step is you should I asked them, I was like, "Great, that's great. I love that you've done the research. Have you ever been to a lithium mine?" And my founder said, "Esther, I'm a scientist. Why would I go to a lithium mine? I belong in the lab. There's nothing I could do in a lithium mine." You cannot know what you don't know. So I told them, go out to a lithium mine, come back to me, and tell me everything that you learned. In 2 months, they go to all the top big lithium mines in South America. They go to China, they come back and they say, "Esther, we understand now. Here is the customer. Here's their process. Here's how they extract the rocks. Here's how much the equipment costs. Here's literally everything." And for a moment there, I see that they've gotten clarity on what they need to be building. And they said, "Esther, there's actually way more problems than we actually ever imagined." But they would have never known that if they did an internet search, right? So the second thing is, go where the action is happening. Solve a real problem. And the last part of the playbook is piloting. People are like, "Oh, how do we get it into the hands of people that actually need this technology?" Well, you must pilot it. When two groups come together, put their technology on the table, there's real stakes. You get to share the risk among other people. And then, once you collaboratively build something, then you get some momentum going. And then, of course, you also celebrate with those people. Their success is your success, and vice versa. So I encourage them to go pilot with people. They've piloted with some of the biggest oil mines and mines in the entire world. And here is what is to show for that. They got into Y Combinator. They raised millions of dollars in their pre-seed round. They have partnered with many, many companies and have already many customers. They're already scaling really, really nicely. And they're absolutely crushing it in life. Now, for all of those people that actually have their technology still stuck at the lab, they haven't done anything to progress and go forward with their playbook. So I encourage this founder to go with their playbook. Now you might be wondering, you know what, I don't really care about biology. It doesn't matter what you're building. You could be a software engineer, you could be a hardware engineer. Whatever niche thing you're building, you need to build with people, right? So the playbook goes, number one, you need to find a product, not a platform. You have to bring actual value to real people. Number two, go where the problem exists. Just because you're at your computer or your lab, that doesn't mean you get all the context in the world. And then number three, actually pilot it with people. Collaborate with other people. It's hard to solve some of the world's hardest problems if you're doing it alone. So might as well collaborate with other people. Now, I will leave you with this. I really want you to go out there into the world and start building with people. This is how innovation scales very nicely. And if you took anything from this talk, I hope that you grow with other people and you launch with other people. Thank you.